Hey guys, I just want to take a moment to break away from our normally scheduled videos to talk about all this George Floyd protesting that's going on, and how it's going in my area and some problems that I just ran into. I actually had some serious issues happen last night, and that's why instead of continuing with our Minecraft dungeon videos, we're going to take a little break here and just kind of talk about at least what's going on in my area. Now, those of you who have followed my channel for a long time know that I live in the St. Louis area in Missouri, which is far from the place where George Floyd was killed, and yet there's so many things going on here. And I know that's how it is all over the country right now, but we'll get into my opinion on that in a little bit. So I just want to start by saying about what's been going on in my area. In my area, I have a few notes here that I wrote down. Let me take a look real quick. In my area over the weekend, there was a lot of looting and robbing of several places. One of the 7-Elevens here in the St. Louis area was burned down. You can see an image of it here on fire. Due to this incident and several other incidents like it, the Missouri Governor Mike Parson signed an executive order to declare a state of emergency, and now the National Guard and the Missouri State Police and the Missouri Highway Patrol Police are going to be teaming up with local police in the local area to try to control the situation because there is just way too much brutality going on. So they also had, riot police out there ready to go, and as you can see in the background of this image, there were several people that were arrested. I don't know if anyone was harmed, but I know that some people were arrested because they were shooting off fireworks into the line of police officers. This happened on, I believe, on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. I read through all this stuff, but I can't remember exact dates. I thought I had another image here, but I must have not saved it correctly. Also in Ferguson, Missouri, the police officers that were driving around patrolling the area and trying to help people arrive safely to their homes because of where the protesters were taking place, their police vehicles were firebombed. I had a few images of that, but apparently the protesters over there are throwing Molotov cocktails into cop cars while they're driving around, and they're just throwing them onto parked cop cars, and they firebombed the police station as well. Now, part of what happened to me directly took place last night, but after I was out of the area and safely at work, there was an incident that took place which involved 4 police officers being shot and hospitalized. There was like a riot thing going on. The police and everything did show up, and some guy just drove by and just randomly started firing guns into the police lineup. So I do want to say something about this man here. This is St. Louis Police Chief John Hayden. He did address the news last night, early this morning, and I have to say that this man is a hero, and he is an excellent representation of a chief. Not only is he a man of color who's on the side of the police and trying to stop the excessive brutality, but him being the chief of the police there, it is part of his responsibility to help out his officers who are harmed. What I saw on the news last night and this morning is that Police Chief John Hayden stayed at the hospital with the 4 officers that were injured. He greeted all the officers' family and their family members as they came in. He sat outside the emergency, outside of the hospital, so as soon as they pulled up, they saw him. He, told them the whole situation. What I think makes this man a very excellent, person, a very good hero, is that he had the balls to get on the news this morning and call out the people who were firing into the police officers and the other people that are rioting and not peacefully protesting, to call them out and to say that they were cowards and that they were criminals, and just go on and on about how wrong they are. And it takes a big person, especially to be a police officer, knowing that you have a target on your back, especially being the chief of the police and having to be out there, probably more than anyone else because he has to be on top of this because he's in charge. Knowing that puts a huge target on his back to the wrong people, he still had the balls to get on the news and to say, that he was coming for them because they are criminals and that they are, cowards for hiding and shooting blankly into a crowd. So, that's just insane. Another thing that happened over the weekend, I didn't get all the details of it, but people who are following what's going on and maybe following like the president. The President Trump, he did like talk about several places around the United States that were having issues with the riots, and then also about the excessive areas. And St. Louis was mentioned in there because on Saturday there were 7 people who were killed during these riots, and not all of them were even part of the protesting. There's just so much going on that, you know, it can't be controlled, and the cops don't 100% know what to do. And there are, like I said before, with it being the St. Louis area, it is known for drive-bys, and now that people are just driving by and shooting at the cops, innocent people are getting hit, and 7 people were killed, and that personally was addressed by the president, which is just, it's just ridiculous, to be honest. As you can see here in this image, this is a large group of protesters. I kind of feel like these guys are in the middle ground. They were peacefully protesting at first. Let's make that clear. They were peacefully protesting at first by having a march going down I-64 in St. Louis and going down 55 as well. The only problem with that is that they were blocking massive amounts of traffic because one of the highways up there, they're like 8-lane highways, and they were completely blocking the traffic. And I mean, that is a bit excessive because now they're holding up other people, but it got worse than that because there were areas clear from St. Louis spread out to the outskirts of St. Louis within the greater St. Louis areas where a large group of people were just hanging out on the bridges with piles of bricks and chucking bricks over the like the overhang parts of the highway where it crosses over another part of the highway, and they were throwing bricks onto oncoming cars, and that is what started several issues, which also was part of the issue that led to 4 officers being shot last night. So there's obviously a lot of stuff going on. I know there's a lot more going on, like, around the entire country, but obviously this wasn't, like, no offense to anyone. I hope no one takes offense to me saying this, but, like, it wasn't my problem or my issue, because it didn't affect me. I had a lot of other things going on. I didn't even know 100% about this. I don't really watch the news and everything. This was brought to my attention by some other people, and then due to an incident that I was dragged into that involved this rioting and protesting, this really came to my attention, and then I started to look it up a little bit. But there was so much stuff going on just within the St. Louis area, even the area just south of St. Louis down 55, just 30 minutes away where my mother lives. The Walmart was broken into and robbed. Several gas stations were broken into and robbed. Another business was burned to the ground. And that's literally all within my, like, eyesight of where my mother lives. Like, you can see the tree line, and if the tree line wasn't there, you would be able to see where the Walmart is what I'm saying. So, like, it's all so close to the people I care about now that it has been brought to my attention, and now, I'm like thinking about it and reading up on it and trying to, I don't really know, honestly. So now we're going to come to the part of the story that directly affects me and impacts me. I live in the greater St. Louis area now. I used to live further up in St. Louis. Then I lived where my mother lives, so just 30 minutes south. Now I live a little bit further than that. And I live in a fairly rural area just outside of my own town where I currently live, so I really don't have to deal with a lot of this stuff. But my mother babysits my daughter for me when I go to work on my overnight shifts, and so, I have to drive up there. I was driving up there last night, and there were protesters on one of the bridges that was hanging over 55, chucking bricks. I'm like getting mad. I'm getting shaky just because of how mad I am, to be perfectly honest. I am so mad. They were chucking bricks off of the bridge. There was one on Richardson Road, and I can't think of the next road up, 270, something like that. But they were chucking off bridges. I had to go up to St. Louis for something, and then I had to drive back down towards my mom's house and then drop my daughter off. And like I said, this wasn't brought to my attention, so some of you may be like, oh, well, you're stupid and it's your own fault. Well, it wasn't really brought to my attention, and there wasn't so much stuff going on. This kind of all happened so instantly that there wasn't like as much coverage as there should have been, and I didn't really know 100% about it. So I went up there with my daughter, and I was driving back, and there's protesters like throwing bricks off of the bridge onto the highway. I ended up running over a brick with my right wheel, and now my car is riding funny, but that's okay. That was the best scenario that could have happened, was someone threw a brick at my vehicle while I was going 70-something miles an hour down the highway, and it ended up me running it over and messed up my alignment a little bit. The worst thing that could have happened is that they could have caused me to wreck. They could have made me, they could have killed my daughter. Like, and I'm not even joking. This was literally within not even 15 minutes of my mother's house. And I mean, honestly, if something would have happened to my daughter, I would have went right to my mom's house. Like, if something happened to her, we would have went to the hospital. But if they threw something at my car that could have jeopardized my daughter's life, I would have went immediately to my mother's house. I would have told her what happened, dropped off Carolina. I would have got my 3 brothers, and we would be up there, and we would be in jail right now, because I swear to God, I would not stop hitting people until there wasn't a single person left throwing a brick, because it's just ridiculous. And I'm at the point now where I'm trying really hard not to cuss, because I do not cuss on my channel. But it's just absolutely ridiculous. I 100% support protesting. I believe that every one of us has the right to protest and object to the things that we disagree with, especially when an injustice happens, when a police officer straight up 100% murders a man. And I know a lot of people are like, it's a white guy who killed a black guy. That doesn't even matter. Okay? It's a man who killed another man in cold blood while he was screaming out that he couldn't breathe, and that cop didn't care and just murdered him. So I 100% am on the side of Black Lives Matter. I'm on the side of the peaceful protesters saying that something has to be done, because I think it's, BS that, I mean, I'm a white guy, and so I know that I have it supposedly easier than everyone else, and that was a stab at women, but I mean, like, I'm afraid of the police. Like, when you see a cop, you get scared, and that's not how it's supposed to be. When I was a child, I wanted to be a police officer. Once I got older and realized how corrupt the police system is, that dream died, and that's just how it is. And anyways, I had to make a quick clip there because my recording was messing up. But if you're, I understand. I mean, I have a different opinion, I guess, and it might not be the most popular one. I feel like if you live in the area where like this example, if you lived in the area where George Floyd died, yes, they should have a higher level of protesting. These other places around the country, I feel like just protesting doesn't matter as much, like, when it comes to just randomly protesting. I mean, I believe in, like, since it happened across the country, like, if you lived on one of the coasts, they could have a rally that then could get on the news that would show people across the country that they're supporting it. But when you're protesting and that protesting turns into straight up rioting, you're not helping anyone. When you throw a brick at my car and threaten my life and the life of my child, we had nothing to do with George Floyd. I had never even heard of that guy till now. No idea who he is. I don't even know the name of the police officer that killed him or the other cops that were there. It literally has nothing to do with me whatsoever, and it definitely has nothing to do with my 2-year-old daughter. So why are you going to jeopardize my 2-year-old daughter's life for someone that has nothing to do with us? That literally is no one to us. Like, no offense, I agree that this issue was a real issue, is a real issue, needs to have resolved, and that, it's a whole real thing, but on the smaller scale of just the bubble that I live in, my social bubble that every person has individually, it doesn't really, it had nothing to do with me. It definitely has nothing to do with her, and you're going to risk my life and her life. You're going to kill my daughter because of something that happened a few states away. And let alone you're going to shoot into a crowd and hurt, and harm 4 police officers. You're going to firebomb police vehicles. You're going to kill 7 people. You're going to ruin tons of people's lives by destroying their buildings and robbing their stores. Whether it's a company that is mom and pop shop or you're just harming the people who work for that company, you are doing far, far worse destruction as a group compared to that police officer. I understand that was a big issue. Like, that's a major thing. That guy committed murder. 100%. That is murder. But if you're out there looting and rioting and you're throwing bricks off onto people's cars and all that, you are a terrorist. You are a domestic terrorist. And if I ever see you out somewhere and I see you doing stuff like that, if I was walking down the street and I saw somebody holding some George Floyd protest sign and they were chucking bricks onto the freaking road, I'd beat their freaking teeth in. because they are not part of the solution. They are part of the bigger problem, and all they're doing is making more problems, causing way more of a problem. You know, you're killing people, you're ruining lives over something that doesn't even involve you. I understand voicing your opinion and saying that you support that cause, but there is a totally different, like, that's just totally different. That's two polar opposites, okay? There is a huge difference between being with a group of people that are holding signs, you know, in maybe a designated area, or maybe within an area that they believe is okay, and they're not blocking up a whole highway, and having signs to get on the news or whatever, or to be covered by the local paper to say, like, we the people of St. Louis, we support, you know, what this incident, we support that Black Lives Matter, and we support that all lives matter, and we support that those police were in the wrong and that they committed murder, and we want, you know, we want justice for this incident. But it's a totally different polar opposite to go, oh, guess what? This guy got killed, so let's freaking use this as an excuse to go out and just kill people, shoot into crowds, destroy property, burn things down. If you do stuff like that, you are a criminal, and you're just as bad as those police officers, especially depending on what you do. Especially the coward who drove down the road and did a drive-by on the freaking cops. You are a criminal just as bad as the person that you're supposedly protesting against. And I don't know. That's all I'm going to do. I know this video ran so much longer than I meant to, and I do apologize. I know it's a major break from my normal videos, and I do not usually get into any sort of politics or anything like this, because it's just not what I do. But when, like I said, when I drive down the road and I'm getting bricks thrown at me for no reason, because it's not like they didn't do it because I'm white, you know, because they couldn't see me. They just saw a car and they were just like, hey, let's destroy people, you know, let's try to kill people, and we can blame it on this protest. You know, it's just ridiculous. And you know, I support your right to protest, like 100%. I believe that, you know, every American, every person in this world, regardless of their gender or color, that you have the right to speak your mind and to stand up for the things that you believe in. And in fact, you're a coward if you don't. If you don't stand up for what you believe in, no one else will. So I say, yeah, stand up for what you believe in, fight for what you think is right. But do not protest, like, yes, protest, but do not riot and destroy other people's livelihoods and other people's homes, their businesses. Do not just attempt to destroy their cars. Do not risk their, you know, the lives of them and their children just because you are literally a piece of human crap. And like I said, if I see someone like that, I'm going to jail, because I'm going to beat their freaking teeth in. And I don't know, man. That's just all there is to it.